Good morning, and it's that time. Quarrel with Farrell. Let's start the show. Who would have thought, ladies and gentlemen, India would rest Ashwin, India wouldn't play a left armour, India would go for the more timid wicket keeper, India would get bossed by Australia, and we have Mel Farrell to digest it all. Of course, Mel, talk to me.
Yeah, I thought it was a really entertaining day. That first hour in particular was just amazing. You felt basically like, I felt like I was in a movie when you're watching someone who has to decide to cut the blue wire or the red wire with 3 seconds on the clock. It just every ball felt like something was going to happen. Very tricky early on, and you can understand why India wanted to bowl and Australia. I think they would have made exactly the same decision. But Australia did well to weather that storm, and it wasn't long before all those clouds had burnt away and things look to be a little bit better for batting, and I suspect they might be a bit better tomorrow as well, although there might be some more clouds around again in the morning with that ball still quite new. But it was an interesting day, a brilliant day for Travis Head. I think Australia would be very happy with that when you think of where they were early on when they were 3 wickets down with not many on the board. So good day for Australia. India might feel that they missed a trick, and who knows, they might regret not picking one NO ASHWIN at some point in the match. But there's still a long way to go, 4 days to go, so anything could happen.
Anything can happen, and from an Indian fan perspective, they're hoping that maybe it's a draw, but the way Australia are going about it, they could really bat India out of the game. Speaking of which, we'll get into some of the segments and the fun chats later, but I just want to ask you at the top of my head, how much do you think Australia will be pretty confident to get in their first innings? Will it be 500, 550, where they're absolutely sure that they could bat India out of this game?
Well, I mean, they're obviously just going to get as many as they possibly can, and that's the thing about Travis Head. When he plays an innings like this, at a run of ball, he's almost at 150. His century came up in just a few more balls than 100. He can take games away from oppositions very quickly in the speed at which he bats. Everyone talks about Baz ball, but Trav ball's pretty impressive as well. And that's the license that he's been given with that Australian side. So once he's in there, fresh start tomorrow. It could be a really big daddy 100 from Travis Head. But like I said, you say India playing for a draw. I don't know if they will be yet. It's still a long way to go. Look, you could see Rohit come out and do something incredible. You could see Virat come out and do something incredible. So I'm not writing off an Indian win yet. But Australia, if they're able to stay in there tomorrow, unless there's some sort of collapse, they'd have to feel like, they're in a pretty good position to bat big and make things very difficult for India.
Yeah, if you right now offer me the chance of India to win, chase 376 on day 5, I would take it as an Indian fan. But look, that's for another chat. Let's go into the first segment of the show pretty much, and we call it
Howzzat!
Yeah, in Howzzat, we asked Mel a pertinent question, the hot talking point of the day. And today, surely the chatter going around was Ashwin and why he wasn't included in the playing 11. Generally as well, can you talk to me about the Indian attack today and why no Ashwin? I just want to hear from you, Mel.
Yeah, well, especially listening to the post-match pressers, the talk that was around, they perhaps looked at history. They decided last time when they played at Southampton, very, very different venue to here. They saw New Zealand pick the seamers that they did and felt that they missed out a trick there. Ashwin last time, they played a series in India. They sort of seemed to leave him out a bit here. I never get that because I would always pick Ashwin. I just think, he's the world's number 1 bowler. And so they talked about conditions more when they were looking at the bowling attack and so why they ended up just having Jadeja in there. But I think the thing is, you can talk about conditions, but what about the opposition? And a lot of people obviously point to the fact that Australia have 4 left-handers in their top 7, which you think is tailor-made for a bowler like Ashwin. And also the amount of bounce. It was an interesting pitch because it was quite tricky. Some of the balls were staying very low And then you would get the balls that would just leap up, and some of the bouncers that were being bowled, hitting Travis Head on the head, Marnus Labuschagne on the hand. You really didn't know which way that pitch was going to go. There was quite a bit of variable bounce. I'd be really interested, or I would have been really interested to see how Ashwin would have dealt with that or would have used that, because he's just got so many tricks in his armory. So that was definitely a huge talking point. I guess also the Australians kind of started to target Jadeja a little bit as well, and that was forcing India to go back to the well one more time, because it really looked like Shami and Siraj were the only real wicket taking options. Was the way it sort of played out today, and having to go back to them again and again. And so it's just going to be one of those ones you look back on, whether they just made the decision based on what they thought the conditions were going to be, and that they might have been a bit misled by that little layer of green on top, and whether maybe they missed a trick by just looking at the Australians, and did they miss the matchup that could have been very beneficial for them. Of course, it's all sliding doors, isn't it? And we'll never actually know. We can only speculate.
Yeah, we can only speculate, and it's really something we can't digest as Indian fans right now, thinking about it. And I'm looking at it. When I woke up this morning, I was like, how is Ashwin not playing? How the hell? Because he literally would fit into any other team in the world. And that's a chat which has gone viral on Twitter. Right, let's move to the next segment then. And this one we're calling it
Mel's Pick of the Day.
Right, so we'll ask Mel pretty much her pick of the day in terms of all those 22 men out there. Who was it? Because obviously there are a few who come to mind, but I want to know from you. You mentioned a couple, but take it away, Mel.
Yeah, I think you go past Travis Head. The speed at which he was able to score, he's got, I think, the highest strike rate going around in Test cricket at the moment. It might not have been his best innings. I remember back to the South Africa Test at the Gabba when he scored, I think it was like 92, on an absolute green mamba, almost frightening pitch. And he was still able to score 92 when everyone else was struggling just to stay out there. So he's just that sort of player, as I mentioned before. He could take games away. This could be the summer of Travis Head. He does tend to do better when he has the mustache. So, maybe that's helping him as well. But I actually just asked him in the press conference if he mentioned missing out in India. And I asked him if that was a bit of an extra bit of motivation or driving force, and he said no. He said he knows he doesn't want to get dropped very often, but he knows that's just part and parcel of it. But after having missed out there, I think he appreciates even more the moments like this, and to see him out there on the verge of 150, his first century outside Australia, the way he dealt with the short ball barrage that we saw come his way, where he was discomforted, he ended up on his backside, got glance on the helmet, but to see him then ramp a couple of those, there might have been 3 shots that he ramped for 4 or 6. That's just Travis Head. The fact that he came in at a precarious situation, but was still able to have the clarity and the freedom and the license that he's given to attack. He made the most of it today, and there'll be a lot of very proud South Australians.
Indeed, and he'll go down into cricket folklore as well when you think about it, because he's the first man to ever register a ton in a WTC final. So good on Travis Head. And like you said, Mel, maybe there's more ominous signs from an Indian perspective, because a big daddy 100 could be there. It could be a double 100 as well. Right, so time for some fun with Mel right now, because essentially we're going to do some fun segments throughout the days on Quarrel with Farrell. The first of which is CDC Super Over. Now, this is a familiar game that we've played with all of our guests before. We'll play it with Mel as well. Mel, it's a simple rapid fire. I'll ask you 12 questions and you can just give me one-word answers or however you see fit.
Okay, I'm worried. I've got to tell you, I'm worried.
Don't worry, it's all straightforward. So let's start the CDC Super Over. Right, so first up, who is your favorite cricketer?
That's a really hard one first up. Of all time or now?
Of all time.
of all time. Oh, I'm going to say something. I'll get hammered for this. Do you know what? I'm going to say Ben Stokes.
Well done, Ben Stokes. I wouldn't really go past you with that. Second one, which is your favorite city in the world?
Ooh, these are really hard. My favorite city in the world, Rome. I'm a romantic.
Love it. Funniest interview you've ever had with a cricketer?
Oh, do you know what? Michael Leask from Scotland. We did that recently in Antigua, and I couldn't fit him in the frame, and we had this absolute carnage of a pre-interview segment where I was trying to fit him in the frame, ended up dropping the camera. It was upside down. It's actually on my YouTube channel, so if you want to see it and have a laugh, just go watch the start of the Michael Leask interview. Bring one of those around here and we'll sit on it. Oh!
You're having an absolute shocker here, aren't you?
Best meal you've eaten ever?
You know what? It was outside Rajkot. It was one of those places. It wasn't a fancy restaurant. It was one of those like side of the road places that was open air, and you sat on these little hammock-like stools, and we had a thali, and it was honestly, you didn't order, you just had whatever they gave you. I've never forgotten that meal. It was amazing. And just sitting outside, I was the only woman there. I was the only white person there. It was really funny. I was just with these other people, but yeah, very memorable meal. I'll always remember Rajkot for it.
That's brilliant. That really is. One movie or TV series you would recommend people to watch?
Okay, I'll tell you one. If you can get the BBC iPlayer, there's a documentary out called How to Win the Ashes, and I'm in it, so I'm going to say that. So you can go with that. I don't know what they're asking me for. How to Win the Ashes, what do I know? But we don't talk a lot about Ashes series over the years, and yeah, so there you go. There's one for you.
Yeah, that'll be a good watch. I'm sure the cricket.com audience would love it. Right, so we have more. What is the best thing about Australia?
The best thing about Australia, probably the beaches. There's so many of them, particularly in Sydney. Sydney has the best beaches of any city in the world that I've ever been to.
Superb. If you had a superpower, Mel, strangely enough, what would that be?
Oh, superpower. I tell you what, I would love to have the power of persuasion, the superpower of persuasion, to be able to convince anyone to just do things my way, or whatever it is. Yeah, that would be it. Power of persuasion.
Then I don't think Quarrel with Farrell will ever exist if you had that superpower. Moving on, your sporting idol, someone you grew up watching.
Let's see. Do you know what? I'm going to say Steve Waugh.
Okay.
My captain.
Fair enough. Best party you've been to?
Best party I've been to? Oh, okay, I'll tell you what. Before the Women's World Cup in South Africa, the ICC had one of their events that they have where the players came along and they give a few speeches and everything. But it was on the beach at Camp, I think it was called Camp Bay, Mermaid Beach in Cape Town. And we were there watching the sunset over the water. And then at the end of the night, they had a band and all the players had left. There were about 20 or 30 of us left. And we took off our shoes and we were dancing underneath the stars to this band. And honestly, it was awesome. It was one of the best parties I've ever been to.
I'm sure everyone's jealous listening to that. 3 left then. Cars or bikes?
Oh, cars. You haven't seen me. I can't ride a bike. You know how they say you never forget how to ride a bike? They did not have me in mind. No, they hadn't met me when they created that saying. Genuinely, I'm a very clumsy person. And if you were to make me ride a bike, I would absolutely fall off it straight away.
Very modest of you there, but appreciate that. Final 2, your life motto.
My life motto. I think since the pandemic and everything I've learned there, I reckon it's to always think of whatever you're doing now as the good old days. To make sure you appreciate it. These might be the good old days. I didn't realize I was in the good old days pre-pandemic, but it's just a reminder. I always think that now. These right now are the good old days, so I need to actually appreciate every single one of them.
Well said. And finally, and this is perhaps the tough of the law, so bear with me. Virat Kohli or MS Dhoni, Mel?
Yeah, well, you are trying to create a quarrel with Farrell. You're going to have either one set of fans quarrelling with me or another set of fans quarrelling with me. But I'm going to say Virat Kohli.
Get in there, likewise. But look, we both respect the main man, MS Dhoni. Right, time to finally wrap up and give you guys some goodie bags and prizes to win, because I'm talking about this section, which is called
Who Am I?
In this section, rather, we finish things up with Mel quite nicely, and we also play a game with you guys back home to ask you 3 players who played for India and Australia. The rules are pretty simple. Basically, all players in this quiz are India and Australia Test players. Winners only win if they get all 3 answers right, and all answers should be in the comments below. And obviously, whoever wins this particular competition, DM us on Twitter and we'll get in touch with you to win your merchandise. So let's get on with it. So first one, Mel, you can jump in as well. So don't hold back, and I'll give you clues. We also have a picture clue. So this one is first. Who is this man? I know you'll have to really peer into your camera. I'll give you clues about it, okay? Because this guy, remember, does share a birthday with Virat Kohli, for starters. That's your first clue, all right? Because he's born on November 5th. His last name is just 3 letters. Just 3 letters, his last name. And your final clue, Mel, and the viewers, he is just played 4 ODIs and he's opened 40 times for India in tests. So who is this we're talking about? Let us know in the comments below. Mel, you want to have a crack at it?
No, I don't. I can hardly see it. It's like, it's about this big on my screen. And I'm trying to think of openers with 3 letters in the last name. I'm never going to get these, I realise. I'll leave it to the smart
So
people.
we'll reveal the answers on day 2 on Quarrel with Farrell. So let's go on to the second one then. The second Who Am I? Here's a more familiar face, at least I dare say that. And here are your clues. This man was born in 1991. He has a test cap number of 300 for Team India. 300 is his test cap number. That's your second clue. And he hails from the south of India. So that's your third clue.
Right. So at 1991. So
Yeah.
how old's that then?
32?
Is it Ashwin?
No, it's not Ashwin. But you can guess, and the viewers can guess. We'll get a lot of fun in the comments
He's from
as well.
the south. I know he's from the south.
Fair enough. Let's see if you have any luck in the third one, which is probably the toughest of the lot. It is an Australian Test cricketer that I'm looking at. There is, of course, Gary Kirsten and Kevin Peterson in that picture. But who is the bloke who we've circled and blurred out, obviously? Here are your clues. This man made his Test debut in 1992 against the West Indies, and he played his final Test against England in 2006. He also had a stint in the IPL with Rajasthan Royals in 2010. And your final clue, he also has more Test tons than one-day international tons. So who are we talking about?
I've no idea. No idea at all. And I can't tell who that is either. I told you, that's going to be up to the smart people at home. I'm terrible at quizzes.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you just tell them to comment below, and the winners will get some crazy merchandise?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone guess, because I want you to get crazy merchandise.
Super. Mel, thank you so much. It's been an absolute fun Quarrel with Farrell, even though I haven't quarreled that much, but I'm sure day 3, day 4, day 5, me as my Indian fan will probably kick in more. So right now I'm still coaxing and charming my way through the show.
Oh, well, I look forward to quarreling with you any day of the week.
Super. Have a good one, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe right now. Subscribe. Tell a friend and like this video as much as possible. Remember, there'll be a lot of quarreling. I promise you that. We're just letting Mel off the hook because it's day 1. Let her bask in the sun as an Australian while we have the last laugh, hopefully.